Good morning, all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, so today we'll start with a new chapter in the civics outcomes of democracy. And now, in this chapter, we are trying to just wind up the tour of democracy that we started in class ninth. And so now, in this particular chapter, we'll have a look and we'll ask questions that what does democracy do, and now we know that it is the best type of government that we have, and so we'll like to see that what outcomes can we expect from democracy, and then we'll also have a look that whether democracy fulfills these expectations in real life or not, and then we'll try to assess the outcomes of democracy, and we'll try to have a look at the uh, actual outcomes of democracy in various aspects, like quality of government, economic well being, inequality, social differences and conflicts, and finally, on the freedom and dignity of an individual. So, all that we'll like to have a look at during the course of this particular chapter. Now, if you remember class ninth, and there were some students who were discussing in Madam Lindo's class, that was chapter 2 of class 9 textbook, what is democracy, why democracy, and from that conversation that they had, we came to know that democracy is a better form of government, or is the best form of government that we know when compared with the dictatorship and any other alternative. And we also had a look at some of the merits of democracy. So we saw that democracy, it promotes equality among citizens, and it enhances the dignity of individual, improves the quality of decision making, it provides a method to resolve conflicts, and also allows a room to correct mistakes. Now, so we thought we had a look and at these merits of democracy, but are these expectations real, and are they really realized? Do we really get them in democracies? And when we talk to people around us talking about democracy as a type of government as compared to others, and like rule by a monarch or military rule, or even rule by religious leaders, and so all people they support democracy, but not many people are satisfied with the practice of democracy in practical terms, or in real terms. And so we are faced with like a dilemma, and that democracy, it appears quite good in principles, but when they are put to practice, so at that time it does not seem so good. And this dilemma, it invites us to think hard about the outcomes of democracy. And now the question is that do we prefer democracy just because of moral reasons, or there are some prudential real outcomes to support this democracy too? And more than 100 countries in the world today, they claim that they use some of the democratic practices in their country, and that they have a proper constitution, they hold elections, and they have parties, and they give rights to the people. And while these features are common to most of these democratic countries, or who call themselves democratic, now these democracies are very different from each other in social terms, in economic achievements, and even the culture that they have. And now clearly, now this leads us to say that what can be achieved in our democracy, now that is different from in different countries. And but that would be different in different countries, but there would be still something which we could reasonably expect from a democracy. And people, they are so fascinated with this type of governance, and they have so much interest in democracy, that many times people think that democracy is a solution to all the problems that the countries are facing. And whenever some expectations are not met, then we start blaming democracy for everything, and we start even to doubt that are we really living in a democracy. And now the first step towards thinking about the outcomes of democracy is first to realize that democracy, it is just a form of government, and it can only create conditions for us to for the people to achieve something. And So it only will create conditions, and then the citizens, they have to take advantage of those conditions, and then they have to try to achieve these goals. And now let us have a look at some of the things that we could reasonably expect from a democracy. Now the first thing that we expect from a democracy is that it should be an accountable, responsive, and a legitimate government. Now these are some of the things that democracy it should provide. And in democracy, we are mostly concerned with the people, to give all the people the right to vote, that they should have the right to choose their rulers, and then the people, they should also have a control over the rulers, in the sense that if they don't like them, they can remove them from their place. And whenever possible and necessary, citizens, they should also be allowed to participate in the decision making process of the country. And now that is why the most basic outcome of democracy, it should be that it should produce a government that is accountable to the needs of the citizens, and also responsive to the needs and expectations of the citizens. Now before we go into this question, we face another common question, and now that is democratic government really efficient? And if it is really efficient or effective, then some people think that democracy, it produces less effective government. Now obviously, it is true that non-democratic governments, now they do not have to bother about parliaments and deliberation and discussions, and thinking about a majority and about the public opinion. And so they can be very quick in taking decisions. And but on the other hand, democracy, it is based on the principle of deliberation, discussion, and negotiation. And so in such a condition, some delay, it is bound to happen. There would be some delay, there would be more time taken. But if more time is taken, so does that make democracy a less effective government? Now if we think in terms of cost, now if there's a government, and that government who takes decision very fast, so sometimes in taking a fast decision, it may take decisions that may not be accepted by the people, and therefore they may later on face problems. And in contrast, the democratic government, it will obviously take more time to come to a decision, but because it has followed procedures and the discussion, its decision, then it may be more acceptable to the people, and it could be more effective. And so the cost of time that democracy pays, it perhaps you could say it is worth. Now let us look at the other side. Now democracy, it ensures that the decisions that are made, now they would be on a on the basis of certain norms and procedures and principles. And so if a citizens who wants to know that how they have come to a particular decision, and whether they have followed a particular procedure or not, so they are able to find out. Now so that person has a right to find out about that, and the process of decision making and everything. And this is what is known as transparency. Now this factor but is sometimes missing from a non-democratic country. Obviously, under a monarch, or even under a dictator, now if they take any decision, they don't have to tell people that whether they have consulted with others or not, or it is just on their whims that they are doing it. So very often this transparency is missing from non-democratic government. And therefore when we are trying to find out the outcomes of democracy, so it is right for us to expect democracy to produce a government that follows procedures and is accountable to the people. Now we can also expect that the democratic government, it develops some mechanisms for citizens to hold the democratic government accountable. And that is what the elections does for us. And every 5 years we have elections. And so if the people, the government that we have elected earlier, they have not been responsive to our needs, and they have not done their work well, so we remove them and we don't vote for them in the next elections. And now, so if we wanted to measure democracy on the basis of this outcome, now we will have to look for certain things. like regular, free, and fair elections, open public debate on major political issues and major policies that the government takes, and then also the citizen rights to get information and about the government, about the functioning of the government. Now the actual performance, if we see, of democracies on this is mixed. And democracy now they show greater success in having regular free elections and in setting up proper conditions for public debate. But most democracies they fought short of elections that provide a real chance to everyone. And because we have seen the limitations of elections in class 9, and so many times all the people they do not have the equal opportunity to win elections. And so democratic governments they do not even have a very good record when it comes to sharing information with citizens. But all that we can say in favor of democratic governments is that they are much better than any other non democratic government in these particular respects. And now it could be reasonable for us to expect from democracy to have a government that is attentive to the needs of the people and that is free of corruption. But the record of democracy is not even impressive on these two accounts, and very often democracies they don't do much for the needs of the people, and they often ignore the demands of the majority of the population. And then very often we hear tales of corruption also. And so we also get to know that democracy is also not free of corruption. And but at the same time, if we look at non democratic governments, then we get to know that they are also not any less corrupt or more sensitive to the needs of the people. But there is one respect in which democratic governments is certainly better than other alternative form of governments, is that a democratic government is a legitimate government, means it has not come to govern by force. People have chosen it, so it is legitimate, and it may be slow, it may be less efficient, and may not always be responsive to the needs of the people, and may not always be without any corruption. But a democratic government is the people's own government, and that is why there is so much support for the idea of democracy all over the world. And you know so democracy gets supports not only from countries which are democratic, but even it has support from non-democratic countries, and people they wish to be ruled by representatives which are elected by them. And so everyone they believe that democracy is suitable for their country, and democracy's ability to get support for itself, now that also is a great outcome of democracy that cannot be ignored. Okay, so that was the first one. We move on economic growth and development. Now, if democracies they are expected to produce good governments, then it is not fair to expect. Now, if they are expected to produce good governments, then obviously we can expect them to produce economic development also. Now, evidence it shows that practice many democracies they are not able to fulfill this expectation. Now, if we consider all democracies and all dictatorships for the 50 years between 1950 to 2000, now dictatorships they have a slightly higher rate of economic growth. Now, the inability of democracy to get a higher economic development, it worries democrats all over the world. But yeah, this alone cannot be the reason for us to reject democracy. And as you have already studied in economics, that economic development it depends on many factors like a country's population size, their global condition, then the cooperation that they get from other countries, the economic policies which are adopted by the government. Now, however, the difference in the rates of economic development between the less developed countries with dictatorship and less developed countries with democracies is negligible. And so, overall, we can say that though democracy is not a guarantee of economic development, but we can expect democracy not to lag much behind. So, though they may not be the economic development may not be much more than non democratic governments, but they will not even lag behind them. Okay, so that was the second one. Now it brings us to the third outcome that we can expect from a democracy, and that is the reduction of inequality and poverty. Now, perhaps more than development, it is reasonable for us to expect democracy to reduce the economic inequalities among people. And we could expect that even when a country it achieves economic growth, then we expect that that wealth should be distributed among all the people of the country, and so that everyone could lead a better life. And now, is economic growth in democracies, so now there's a question for us, that is economic growth in democracies, is it accompanied by inequality among the people, or do democracy they lead to a proper and a just distribution of wealth and opportunities among all citizens of the country? Now, democracies they are based on political equality. Everyone has a right to vote, or they get or right to get voted for, and so all individuals they have a right to elect representatives. And now, parallel to the process of bringing people on an equal footing in the political arena, we find that there are growing economic inequalities. Means there are growing inequalities on the economic front in our democracy, and a small number of ultra rich, means there's a very small proportion of ultra rich, those who have a very huge share of wealth and income. And not only that, their share in the total income of the country, it has not been going down, it has been increasing. And those at the bottom of the society, they have very little left to survive on, and their incomes have been declining, whereas the incomes of this small proportion of ultra rich, they have been increasing. And sometimes these people, the poor people, they find it so difficult to even meet the basic needs of life, such as food, clothing, house, education, or even health. So in actual life, democracies they do not appear to be very successful in reducing economic inequalities. And in class ninth in economics, we have already studied about poverty in India, and we know that poor they constitute a very large proportion of our uh, population. But still, no party will like to lose, and no political party would like to lose their votes. Yet no democratically elected government they have done much for these poor people to bring them out of poverty. And the situation is much worse in some other countries, like in Bangladesh, where more than half of the population they live in poverty. And people in some poor countries, now they are dependent on the rich countries even for their food supplies. Okay, so that was the third outcome of democracy. Now we move on, the accommodation of social diversity. Now, do democracies they lead to a peaceful and harmonious life among citizens? And now it should be a fair expectation that democracy should produce a harmonious social life. And we have seen in earlier chapters that how democracy they accommodate people having so many social divisions and social differences, that we have already seen during this year. And we also saw in the first chapter that how Belgium they have very successfully negotiated the ethnic differences among in its population. And now democracy they usually have a procedure to conduct this their competition, and this reduces the possibility of tensions among the different social groups present in a democracy. Now no society or no society and no country, no governing body can permanently resolve all conflicts among the different social groups which are prevalent, or which are which exist in our country. But we can certainly learn to respect the differences, and we can also have proper mechanisms to negotiate these differences among the different social groups. Now democracy is best suited to produce this outcome. Non democratic regimes, they very often turn a blind eye to the social differences, the prevalent or the inherent social differences, and but the ability to handle social differences, divisions, and conflicts is a plus point for democratic governments. But the example of Sri Lanka, it reminds us that democracy should fulfill two conditions in order to achieve this outcome. We have already seen that Sri Lanka also, they had a democratically elected government, but what happened there and how all that led to the civil war. So, we need to see that democracy, it should fulfill two conditions in order to achieve this outcome of accommodating social diversity. Now, it is necessary to understand that when we talk about democracy, it is not just simply ruled by a majority opinion. Now, the majority, it always should work along with the minority so that the government may function properly, and it should represent the general view and not only the view of the majority. So majority and minority opinions, they should not be permanent. Then it is also necessary that the rule by majority does not become the rule by majority community in terms of religion or race or language. Rule by majority simply means that in case of every decision or in case of every election, different people and different groups, they can form a majority. Means those who are in majority today, they can be in minority on some other issue. So democracy remains a democracy only till the time that every citizen has a chance of being in majority at some point or the other. Now, if someone is barred from being in majority on the basis of birth, then democratic rule, it ceases to exist to for that people, for that particular person, or for that particular group. So no one should be forced not to be in majority on the basis of birth. So on this particular issue, accommodation of social diversity, democracy, it really proves itself worth. And that brings us to the last outcome that we expect from democracy is the dignity, is to enhance the dignity and freedom of the citizens. Now, democracy, it stands much superior to any other form of government in promoting the dignity and freedom of the individual. Every individual, they want to receive respect from their fellow beings, and often, there are conflicts among the individuals because they feel that they are not treated with respect. Now that is, we all want respect from others, and the passion for respect and the passion for freedom, they are the basis of a democracy. Now democracies throughout the world, they have realized this, they have recognized this, and many times just in principle and not in practice, but still this has been achieved in various degrees in various democracies. And is now societies, which long had been built on subordination and domination, now it is not very simple for them to recognize that everyone and every individual is equal. Now, even in case of, take the dignity, for example, take the case of dignity of women. Now many societies across the world, they had been male dominated societies, and women, they have struggled for long years to get the respect and equal, uh, that they should be even treated equally by their countries and by the governments. Now that these two things are necessary, or the necessary ingredients of a democratic society. Now, though they are very important, but that does not mean that women, they are actually always treated with respect. But but at least once the principle is recognized, then it becomes easier for women to wage a war against what is now acceptable, unacceptable legally. We may take up a point, and like earlier when the women, they started to fight for equal rights, equal political rights also. Then also, when they started first, then it was not something which was accepted by all. And so, what they were fighting for, it was not recognized. But now, since equality is recognized, then it becomes easy to wage a war against it. And now, in a democratic, non democratic setup, this unacceptability, now it will not have a legal basis, because in a non democratic country, the principle of individual freedom and dignity, now it will not have the same legal and moral force that would have in a democratic government. And the same is also true for caste inequalities, also inequalities based on caste system. Now, democracy in India, it has strengthened the claims of the disadvantaged and the discriminated caste, because now we know that all are equal according to our constitution. That is the first fundamental right, the right to equality. So, irrespective of any difference that we might have on the basis of color, caste, creed, gender, birth, financial status, our education, everyone should be treated equally. And so, that is why, you know people here, though there are still cases of caste based inequalities and people being treated badly, but now they do not have the support, the moral and the legal support. Why? Because morally and legally, now everyone should be treated equally. So now those who are fighting for equality, they have the moral and the legal force behind them. And so perhaps it is the it is this recognition that makes the ordinary citizens value their democratic rights, because they know that everyone is equal. Now, expectations from democracy, they also function as a criteria for judging any democratic country. Means, if you have expectations, now that is also a criteria for judging democracy. Because what is most uh, spectacular about democracy is that its examination, it never gets over, and as it passes one test, it produces another test. And as people get some benefits of democracy, they ask for more and more, and they want democracy to get better and better. And that is why, when we ask people about the way democracy functions, they will always come up with more expectations and many complaints also. And the fact that people are complaining, in now that itself is a testimony or a witness to the success of democracy. Now, what it shows, that people, they have developed an awareness, and they have the ability to expect, and also they have a ability to look critically. They can even look critically at the power holders, those people who are in government, and the high and the mighty, that thing which is not possible in a non democratic government. So a public expression of dissatisfaction with democracy, it shows the success of the democratic project. So even if we are dissatisfied with democracy on certain things, it still shows the success of democracy. Why? Because it transforms the people from the status of a slave or a subject into that of a citizen. If we don't have any complaints with the way the government is ruling, and if we cannot come up and criticize and say anything, then we are just subjects, all right? We are just like slaves. But where we have that power to be treated equally, and when we know that we have a right to be treated equally, and when we know we have a right to even criticize those who are in power, and we can say things about them also, that they are not working for our good and all that. And that is what transforms the citizens from or the people from subjects or from slaves to the status of being an equal, or to the status of being a citizen. And most individuals today, that is why they feel that their vote, it makes a lot of difference to the way the government is run, and also to their own self interest. Okay, so that was it. Is there anything that you have not understood? Please let me know.
No, ma'am.
All understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.